A gentle breeze rustled through the graveyard branches as a fellow in a rumpled outfit dropped to his knees in front of a modest pale headstone. His body shook, and his palms pressed against his eyes. The marker said Hija Amada Descanson Pause, beloved daughter, rest in peace. An image of a beaming little girl was carved into the rock, her sparkling gaze locked forever in purity. Just beyond him, a dim silhouette lingered under an ancient oak. The shape observed in silence, the form of a teenage girl, her eyes brimming with tears that gleamed in the dawn glow. What if those we grieve could still watch over us? What if affection and compassion stretched past the tomb? Before we start, if this is your first visit, welcome to Kindness Lights, a space where true tales and profound insights show us that even the tiniest gesture of goodwill can alter a destiny. Remember to follow, hit like, and drop your reflections in the section underneath. Let's sustain the glow of compassion as a team. The fellow's name was David Romero. He used to be a joyful dad who put in extended shifts at a modest fix-it store in Texas. His girl, Isabella, meant everything to him, a lively, chuckling 9-year-old who adored sketching blooms on any scrap of paper she grabbed. But one stormy evening shifted it all. David had sworn to Isabella he'd return soon to catch her school performance. She'd rehearsed for ages, but the job piled up and David lingered. Heading back with her mother, a careless motorist blew through a stop signal. The crash was quick, savage, and irreversible. Isabella never survived. For 2 years following, David's existence drowned in darkness. He faulted himself without end for lingering, for missing it, for it all. His spouse, Maria, struggled to keep their shattered household intact, but sorrow was a tempest that ripped them asunder. In time, she relocated to a different city, seeking room to mend. David, however, stayed put. Each Sunday dawn, he visited the identical burial ground, carrying new pale lilies to his child's plot. He would linger there for ages, murmuring regrets as though his phrases could touch her someplace past the heavens. But what David never realized was that another presence lingered. On that specific Sunday, as rays filtered through the limbs, a teenage lady observed him from the tree line. Her name was Elena. She was just 16, but had spent most of her days in foster placements. The graveyard served as her hidden sanctuary, a calm spot where she could flee the chaos of her unstable household. She had spotted David previously. Every Sunday, storm or clear, he arrived with identical blooms, identical attire, identical despair. She hadn't learned whose memory he wept for until she scanned the headstone once. Something in his anguish stirred her profoundly. She had forfeited folks, not to passing, but to indifference and desertion. She understood the sensation of being unseen, to weep when nobody heard. So that morning, as she saw him sob into his palms, a voice in her soul murmured, "Perform a caring deed." The following Sunday, David returned once more. But upon reaching, he discovered something unforeseen on the plot. A little sketch of pale lilies and sunlight with a message that said, "For Isabella." She must have been a lovely spirit. David glanced about bewildered. Nobody appeared, but for the initial moment in ages, his mouth curved into a subtle grin. Every week from then, the sketches persisted. Blooms, winged insects, arcs of color, each marked with a basic heart and the letters M. The sketches turned into a hushed dialogue between two spirits, one mending, one aching. David started carrying an extra bunch of lilies, setting them beside the sketches with brief appreciation messages. "Your goodwill counts beyond words. You show me goodness remains in this place." One afternoon, as David set the blooms down, he caught a shuffle behind him. He spun and spotted her. A teenage girl with lengthy chestnut locks waited by the trunk, gripping a sketchpad. She stilled like a fawn in beams. "You're the artist," he murmured gently, the one leaving the pictures. Elena paused, debating flight. But his tone was soft, fractured, yet warm. "I never intended to bother," she faltered. "I simply hated for her to fade from memory." David's eyes welled anew, but now not from anguish, from another feeling. Thankfulness. He approached gradually, hand on his chest. "Thank you," he breathed. "You can't imagine what your compassion has meant to me." They settled together by the plot for hours chatting. Elena shared about her foster situations, her passion for sketching, and how she visited there for calm. David recounted Isabella, her chuckle, her top hue, her ambition to be a creator. That afternoon, two fractured souls discovered solace in each other's company. From that point, their Sundays transformed. David toted drawing tools rather than lilies, and side by side they created images for Isabella, vivid views packed with vitality and hues. As months passed, their tie deepened. David aided Elena with assignments, showed her repairs in his store, and urged her toward her goals. And Elena, in time, restored joy to David's days. She proved to him that affection never fully perishes. It merely shifts shape. Years on, when Elena finished high school, David beamed from the crowd, eyes misty once more. But now, they flowed from happiness. She had grown into the child fate had stolen, not through lineage, but through compassion. Compassion doesn't wipe away hurt, but it reshapes it. It converts mourning into meaning and isolation into bond. At times, a minor gesture, a sketch, a gentle phrase, a spark of empathy can hold someone from the brink. You never realize who's observing or whose spirit your goodwill might touch. So now, let's borrow from Elena's tale. Glance about. Someone close might wage a hidden fight and your compassion could shine as their rescue. Because compassion isn't merely an action. It's our essence. Thank you for viewing Kindness Lights. If this tale moved you, please like, follow, and pass it to someone needing inspiration today. As one, we can continue sharing the glow, one gesture of goodwill at a time.